Hi, have hurricanes, wildfires, and drought become a daily reality? Do you remember the America that was once a symbol of progress and prosperity, where cities were adorned with towering skyscrapers and green landscapes stretched for miles? That image is gradually fading, replaced by painful scenes of cities drowning under the weight of floods, forests consumed by raging flames, and fields cracked by drought. Climate disasters are no longer distant events we hear about in the news. They have become a harsh daily reality, knocking on the doors of Americans, from the sunny shores of Florida to the enchanting forests of California, from the fertile plains of the Midwest to the arid deserts of the Southwest. But why? Why has the most powerful and advanced nation on Earth become so vulnerable to these relentless assaults from an angry nature? The answer lies in a simple yet devastating equation: global warming, which is slowly but steadily turning into a climate nightmare that threatens not only infrastructure, but the social and economic fabric of an entire nation. Hurricanes, when the ocean becomes a raging beast. The word hurricane no longer sparks just a passing concern in the United States. It has become synonymous with terror and destruction. Every year, as hurricane season approaches, coastal areas live on edge, awaiting the next storm that could wipe entire cities off the map. Florida, Louisiana, Texas, North and South Carolina. Names of cities and states tragically associated with devastating hurricanes: Katrina, Irma, Maria, Harvey, Ian. Katrina, 2005. A wound that won't heal in the heart of New Orleans. Hurricane Katrina remains a turning point in the history of natural disasters in America. It wasn't just a storm, it was a humanitarian catastrophe that exposed the fragility of infrastructure and deep social and economic inequalities. It claimed the lives of over 1,800 people and caused more than $125 billion in damages. The scenes were shocking. Entire neighborhoods underwater, thousands stranded on rooftops, and a clear governmental failure to deliver timely aid. Katrina was a blaring alarm bell. But did anyone really listen? Increasing strength and frequency. What is both alarming and astonishing is not just the recurrence of hurricanes, but their growing intensity. Category 4 and 5 hurricanes, which were once rare, have become increasingly common. This is directly linked to rising ocean surface temperatures. Warm oceans act as fuel for hurricanes, providing the energy needed to boost their speed and destructive power. Additionally, hurricanes have become slower moving, meaning they linger longer over populated areas, dumping more rain and worsening floods. This phenomenon, known as hurricane slowdown, is also tied to climate change. Coastal flooding, when the sea swallows the land. The damage isn't limited to destructive winds, it extends to unprecedented coastal flooding. Rising sea levels, driven by melting glaciers and the thermal expansion of oceans, make coastal regions more vulnerable to storm surges that accompany hurricanes. Coastal cities like Miami, Boston, and New York are experiencing more frequent flooding, even outside hurricane season, due to sea level rise. Infrastructure built for the 20th century is no longer capable of coping with the challenges of the 21st. Economic and social impact. The cost of hurricanes is immeasurable. Millions displaced, homes and businesses destroyed, daily life disrupted, and reconstruction costs reaching billions of dollars. The most vulnerable communities suffer the most, struggling to rebuild their lives and homes. Moreover, disruptions to supply chains affect both the national and global economy. Wildfires, when the forests devour themselves. While hurricanes were pounding the coasts, other parts of America were suffering a different kind of hell: wildfires. Wildfires are no longer just a seasonal natural phenomenon that can be controlled. They have turned into massive, uncontrollable infernos that consume millions of acres and destroy entire communities. California, in particular, has become the epicenter of this tragedy. California in the line of fire. In recent years, California has become synonymous with devastating wildfires. Dry climate, rising temperatures, and consecutive years of drought have turned forests and drylands into powder kegs ready to explode. Fires like the Camp Fire in 2018, which completely destroyed the town of Paradise and claimed 85 lives, shocked the world. This disaster has repeated itself time and again, with the Dixie Fire, Montero Fire, and others breaking records in burned area. Climate and drought, a recipe for disaster. The link between climate change and wildfires is clear and alarming. Higher temperatures cause more moisture to evaporate from soil and vegetation, making them drier and more flammable. Years of intensified and frequent drought have turned forests into fuel waiting to ignite. Strong winds, which have also grown more intense in some regions, help spread flames at an incredible speed, making firefighting efforts nearly impossible. Greenhouse gases, a vicious cycle. Wildfires don't just destroy homes and the environment, they also worsen the problem of global warming itself. When forests burn, they release massive amounts of carbon dioxide and other pollutants into the atmosphere, increasing greenhouse gas concentrations and contributing to the planet's rising temperature. It's a destructive, vicious cycle. Global warming leads to more wildfires, and wildfires fuel more global warming. Impacts beyond the flames. The effects of wildfires go far beyond the direct damage. The smoke they produce can travel for thousands of miles, reducing air quality in distant cities and causing serious health issues such as respiratory and heart diseases. The destruction of forests also impacts biodiversity and increases the risk of floods and mudslides in later seasons as the vegetation that once anchored the soil is lost. Drought, when life evaporates. While hurricanes and wildfires dominated headlines, another disaster has been unfolding slowly but steadily across vast parts of the United States: drought. The western and southwestern regions in particular are experiencing an unprecedented historic drought that threatens the food and water security of millions of Americans. Parched plains and dry rivers. The Colorado River, a lifeline for many western states, is facing a catastrophic drop in water levels, endangering water supplies for cities like Los Angeles, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. Massive artificial lakes like Lake Mead and Lake Powell, once vast water reservoirs, are now experiencing dangerously low water levels, revealing sunken ships and forests that had long been submerged. Farmers in areas such as California's Central Valley are facing tough decisions between leaving their land fallow or depleting groundwater at unsustainable rates. Climate change and drought, an inevitable link. Drought is not a new phenomenon, but what's alarming is its severity, frequency, and broad geographic spread. Scientists directly link climate change to the worsening of drought conditions. Higher temperatures accelerate evaporation from rivers, lakes, and soil. Shifts in global weather patterns affect rainfall and snowfall, leading to longer and more intense drought periods. In mountainous regions, rising temperatures cause snow to melt earlier in the year, reducing the water reserves available for summer use. Food and water security at risk. Drought has a direct impact on agriculture, a vital sector of the U.S. economy. Less water means lower crop yields, which drives up food prices and threatens farmers' livelihoods. Water scarcity also endangers drinking water supplies for cities and communities, potentially leading to water use restrictions and even mass migrations in the future. Resource conflicts. As water becomes increasingly scarce, resource-based conflicts are beginning to emerge between states and communities. Each state relies on the same rivers and lakes, and as demand increases amid dwindling supply, new tensions are arising. This situation could escalate into conflicts over natural resources in the near future.
Why America in particular? While global warming is the driving force behind these disasters, there are additional factors that make the United States especially vulnerable to their effects. Vulnerable coastal cities. The United States has an extensive coastline and a large number of major cities located along it. These cities, home to millions of people and critical infrastructure, are directly exposed to rising sea levels and severe storms. Over the years, many coastal communities were built in low-lying, high-risk areas without adequate consideration for future climate changes. Dependence on fossil fuels. Despite ongoing efforts to reduce emissions, the United States remains one of the world's largest producers and consumers of fossil fuels. This heavy reliance on coal, oil, and gas significantly contributes to greenhouse gas emissions, worsening global warming. Even with growing awareness of the threat, there remains strong resistance to phasing out fossil fuels due to economic and political reasons. Urban expansion into hazard zones. Urban development policies have led to the construction of homes and communities in areas once considered wilderness, such as wildfire-prone regions in California or flood-prone zones in Florida. This expansion increases the exposure of people and property to natural disasters. Aging and fragile infrastructure. Much of America's infrastructure, including dams, sewage systems, and electrical grids, is aging and neglected. These systems were not designed to withstand the extreme weather events we are seeing today, which exacerbates damage and makes recovery more difficult. Political polarization and climate denial. Unfortunately, climate change has become a politically polarized issue in the United States. A significant portion of the political elite and segments of the public deny the existence of climate change or downplay its severity. This denial hinders effective national action, delaying investments in renewable energy, climate-resilient infrastructure, and policies that could mitigate the impact of disasters.
The future of America. Can the equation be reversed? While the picture may seem grim, there is a glimmer of hope. America has begun to grasp the scale of the challenge, and there are growing efforts to adapt to and mitigate the effects of climate change, though at a pace slower than what is truly needed. Investing in renewable energy. The United States is moving toward increasing its investment in solar, wind, and other renewable energy sources. There is a growing recognition that transitioning to clean energy is not only an environmental necessity, but also an economic opportunity to create new jobs and achieve energy independence. Adapting infrastructure. States and local governments have started to invest in climate-resilient infrastructure, such as constructing seawalls to guard against flooding, developing improved sewage systems, and building structures more resistant to wildfires and hurricanes. Managing wildfires. New strategies for wildfire management are being developed, including the removal of excess vegetation and the implementation of controlled burns to reduce the risk of large-scale fires. Public awareness. There is a growing awareness among the American public of the seriousness of climate change and its impacts. This awareness has the potential to increase pressure on politicians to take bold and decisive action. International cooperation. Despite political fluctuations, the United States remains part of international efforts to combat climate change and participates in agreements such as the Paris Accord, reflecting a recognition of the importance of global cooperation in facing a global challenge. What America is experiencing, hurricanes, wildfires, and droughts, is not merely a series of passing weather anomalies. They are the direct result of global warming caused by human hands. These are cries for help from an exhausted planet, pleading with us to stop ignoring its warning signs. To continue on this path is to allow these disasters to shift from being a daily reality to a daily end for hopes, dreams, and lives. It is time for America, with its power, innovation, and leadership capacity, to realize that the climate challenge is not a luxury that can be delayed, but an existential crisis requiring immediate and comprehensive action. Investing in clean energy, adapting infrastructure, changing lifestyles, and bridging political divides to confront this challenge are not optional. They are essential to preserving the future of this nation and generations to come. Will America answer the planet's call or continue paying the steep price of denial? The answer to that question will determine its fate
and the fate of the world.